And so naturally, Eucharistic adoration is just one of those things, or just like Eucharistic devotion generally, just kind of gets tossed up in the middle of all these other things that you can do or get involved in. Even like amongst prayer things, like you can pray the rosary more, and you can join a Bible study, and you can go and serve the poor. Like there's all these different things that you can do, and being devoted to the Eucharist is just one of those things that's just kind of floating around in the ether that gets plucked every now and then, and then it might be 3 months before you hear about it again. Welcome to The Crunch, the only podcast run by turbo normies. It's your boy, Ethan.
And I'm Patrick, the one who coined the term turbo normie.
Yeah, and I'm the one who the term was coined about. You know, they used to only term
you're not
coins.
A turbo normie. I coined two terms this week.
Patrick's been in the mint smithing coins, solving problems for the United States Treasury.
I've been deep in the mines, mining Bitcoin.
Yeah,
mining coin to coin terms. So I figured there were. You'll understand this, dear listener.
It's
that
no,
I'm talking to the camera. I'm talking to the listener. Me and the listener, excuse me, Ethan. Me and the listener are having a conversation. You say the word normie, right? What do you think, Ethan?
I think of my friends.
Yes, right. But they're not like or my wife. You know, Phoebe is a normie, but she's not like such a normie that you can't be like, hey, did you ever think this way? She'll be like, yeah, that's a good point. Like she gets the new polity stuff. That's super not normie, you know?
Yeah.
She's a normie that is like an open-minded normie.
Yeah.
Turbo normie is like, you cannot imagine anything outside of like a comfortable distaste for Pope Francis and the bishops, right?
Yeah.
A love of John Paul II. You know, that's turbo normie.
Right.
Paleo normie is a term that I coined about a formerly beloved plagiarist priest who was recently, we're not going to talk about it.
We shouldn't talk about it. We already talked about it in the bonus show.
We talked about it on the bonus podcast.
We also haven't told people what this episode is about and why they've tuned in.
Oh, yeah. Hey, everyone. Welcome to The Crunch.
Welcome to The Crunch. It's a podcast.
The Crunch is a podcast where Ethan and I were two buddies who met podcasting. So our very first episode was our very first conversation. For those of you who are new, Ethan and I are two Catholic guys. We used to be missionary youth minister. I studied theology at Franciscan. And so we talk about Catholic things. And we make jokes. That's what this podcast is about. So welcome if you're new. If you are old...
You're a paleo normie, and you've just learned that term.
Normie.
Welcome.
You just learned that term.
Anybody over the age of 32 is a paleo normie. Sorry.
A paleo normie is someone who posts minion memes on Facebook and is like, that's a paleo normie. Right. So, Ethan, I recently told Ethan that he needed to stop being so controversial on Twitter. He has not taken it well.
No, I made a comment in the Discord. I don't know if you saw this. But I said, Patrick's making me tweet saint quotes. I feel like I'm on parole. like I'm in the ankle cuffs and I'm on the side of a highway and I'm stabbing trash. That's what it feels like tweeting like a normie instead of my normal stuff, you know?
This is what an alt account is for.
I know. Yeah.
People don't grandstand in your alt. You know why?
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing in it for them.
Right.
There's nothing in it for them. I tweet my most controversial stuff in my alt account. My most misogynist, most anti-Semitic. I'm just kidding. That's a joke for legal reasons. That's it.
It's not. I've seen them. I've seen the tweets. Call me. Call me. I have evidence. Get me out of this. The sooner that Patrick goes to jail, the sooner I can get back to business as usual. Get him out of here. I'm sick and tired of you telling me what to do. You think you're so smart with your high tech tweet schedulers and
Oh yeah.
your Instagram captioning devices and your camera that auto focuses.
3
You
times
think you're
every second.
you think you're
I
so smart. Well, some of
guys, I
us
made
went to college. Some of us
I went
didn't
to
go to
college.
college. Some of us work with our hands. I think, well, let me show you your hands, son. I bet you don't work a day in your life. That's what I
My
think
hands
about
look like
you.
your hands. My hands look like your hands
No,
except bigger.
I've got blisters on my hands from lifting. You can't really tell, but I'm starting to get the calluses on my.
Oh, I love those. I
Yeah,
still have them. They don't go away. You get the little
no,
bumps under your knuckles, they're
no,
there
they don't.
forever.
Yeah,
Um no, I was what was I for those of
we're
you
talking
who are
about
just
we're talking
tuning
about
in,
how you're a pansy liberal, is what we were saying.
I I made Ethan go through Amber Rose religious hippies tweets and
Dude,
count what she tweets. Girl tweets 12 times a day. All right.
I made a comprehensive study of all of her tweets and the different topics. Amber, if you're watching this, it's nothing personal. I'm just doing what dad tells me to do. Really.
The reason why we're doing this is because we have a little bit of a project that we're working on.
Yes.
And part of the project, it's so Twitter we use, like we try to tweet, a tweet goes viral, another tweet posts automatically underneath that plugs something, and this project is the thing that's going to go there. It's going to be a really cool, highly valuable thing that you can get for free
We're making
that
a
comes from
product,
us. We're making a
and
product.
it's a free product for you and for your
Yeah.
friends
And
and for your
so
mom
if
and your dad.
if you're excited about that, if you're like, "Oh, I'm interested what the boys are cooking up,"
Yeah.
we're going to announce it first in our Discord. So you should go to
Oh,
bit.ly/crunch Discord, and that's where we'll announce it. And this is a real thing. We've paid a real person in a real country, that's not the
some
United
are
States,
saying
real money
yeah,
to
to
help us
do an
make.
okay job.
Yeah, dude, okay job, and then for us to tell her to do it again.
Yeah.
But it looks great, and
Yeah.
we're putting it together, and it's going to be part of. We're doing a little experiment. We're trying to see what we should what we should sell. We need to monetize the podcast. We want to
Yeah.
give you guys stuff that you like, that you'd be like, I'd pay money for that.
Right. And I do think this comes at a valuable time for me
Why is
because
that?
because I probably could stand to become a turbo normie. I probably could
Yeah,
use it at this point in my life because I went through a rough patch recently, having a hard time. And sometimes when you're going through a hard time, you just kind of hold on to whatever seems to float, you know. And at
yeah,
the time, I was holding on to I wouldn't say right-wing conspiracy theories, but I would say that there is a certain brand of social media that does lean more to the right that I just found very interesting and compelling during this rough patch of my life.
you're
And
describing the Republican Party in 2020. That's what you're describing.
I may have found myself in a crowd on January 6th protesting. You don't know how long the rough patch lasted. But anyway, I was in a situation where I was like really reading a lot of stuff and it was affecting the way that I was talking about things. And so I think taking a step back from all of that and going back to tweeting, let me show you. I'm going to read you the next tweet up in my queue. Ready? You're going to love
Uh
this.
huh. This is just
a
GK
free
Chesterton.
a free-to-play mollusk-based RPG app experience. Clash of Clams. Ladies and
I
gentlemen, we're back.
Speaking of, I'm ashamed to admit that me and Nick re-downloaded Clash of Clans over a
You're
Christmas
back in
break.
the clans?
I maxed out my Town Hall 9, so I'm a maxed
That's what
out
that
Town Hall
meant. You
level
tweeted
9.
that to me the other day, and I was like,
Yeah,
what did he mean by this?" But apparently it means
TH9.
you were clanning.
I was
Um,
clashing and clans.
I've been after Emma goes to bed and after I get all my work done, I've been playing one or two. I've been dropping in.
You've been
Been
dropping in
playing
a couple times.
I've been dropping in a couple times, and
Playing Fortnite is much more masculine, I think, than playing Clash of Clans.
I don't know. They're both equally effeminate. I
You think
think.
so? I think Clash of
Yeah.
Clans is much more childish than Fortnite, even though Fortnite is marketed mainly towards children.
You know who really, really loves Clash of Clans?
Who's that?
I think I could be wrong. I think Mr. Beast really plays Clash of Clans.
Is Mr. Beast into the clan? Is he a clasher? Does he clan?
He's a clasher for sure.
Is
Or
he a
it's someone
clansman? Sorry, nope. Sorry, that's not. We can't.
we don't
can't.
know. We don't know. He
Is
could be.
that-
We don't
he's
know
from
what
North
he's building.
Carolina. Maybe.
Yeah, he's got that warehouse. He kind of holds people.
Yeah, he really does like to buy people. He does.
Yeah.
That guy's a huge purchaser of people. He
Hmm.
put a guy in a. Sometimes Mr. Beast videos seem cruel. Are you? I'm not a Mr. Beast video guy.
Yeah.
I watched a few. I watched the grocery store one.
Yeah, that one was good. I like that one.
That one was good. I like when he does things himself. Like he's like, I'm
So you see
underground.
the solitary
early.
confinement one?
Yeah.
Where he was in
like,
solitary confinement for 7 days.
which apparently is supposed to like really mess you up.
Yeah. I think he was already broken. So
because he did underground for 7 days and he was able to talk to his friends. I can't imagine he was able to talk to people while he was in solitary confinement.
I couldn't do the lay down for 7 days thing. Like stuck inside a glass box for 7 days. Like nope.
Yeah.
Hard pass.
Absolutely
Not
crazy.
interested. I think I could do the white box for 7 days.
You could?
Yeah, I think I could actually.
Yeah, I think after having a toddler, it's like, yeah, I could do a white box with nothing in it for 7 days.
I would start writing that novel I've always wanted to write.
Yeah, you're gonna write a novel?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta tell me, what's your novel about?
Well, it's about it's about a post-apocalyptic
Don't you
world.
dare. Don't stop it.
And there's one branch of the United States government.
I hate you so much. I can't believe you're plagiarizing my novel right now.
It seems to be the trend these days. So I figured I would just.
Everyone knows that I came up with the post-apocalyptic novel where the mailmen take over the world. Everyone knows that. I released the first chapter on Discord years ago. If you want it, go to bit.ly/crunch-discord.
I think what people really want to hear is your take on the Eucharistic Revival. I think they're tired of us bandying about with nonsense and frivolity. And I want to hear your things because you told me that you had an opinion. And
I do.
I want to hear it because I think you're a good opinion haver.
For those of you who have been around the block, have been a part of the Crunch Bunch for years, you remember that one of our all-time episodes was cracking open a life team with the boys. Do you remember that episode, Ethan?
I do. I vaguely remember it, but I also distinctly remember it.
It was a very big episode for us.
Yeah, Mark Hart came on the show because of it.
And then you became a focus missionary because of it, and then you didn't quit the podcast because of that.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy.
If we had never podcasted the live team with the boy, why are you texting during the podcast?
Sorry that my wife texts me and I look at it because I'm not a cucked liberal like you. I'm sorry, that was
absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. We need to get you off of right-wing Twitter.
I know it's really out of pocket for me to say that, but but it was my wife texting me, and I can read and listen at the same time.
Anyway, so cracking open a life team with the boys is one of our famous episodes because it was we noticed
without it the podcast would have ended. So you're here now because of this episode. It was a crucial turning point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And I'm seeing a similar we saw a trend back then, which is why we made the episode where Life Teen, despite ostensibly doing a lot of good work in the church, was getting a lot of criticism from people who were Catholic.
Flack.
Yeah, they were getting flack. And so we said no to that. And so I am seeing a similar trend with the Eucharistic Revival where I think, and I think you agree that it's a very good thing.
Totally.
However, I don't think everyone, maybe not everyone listening to this, I don't think everyone agrees. Why do you think that is?
I think people are afraid of things that are big. I think people are naturally inherently suspicious of stuff that is popular because we have this mindset that Catholicism, especially since we're Americans and we're such a minority, like 20% of the country is Catholic.
Yeah.
Probably less, actually. Like practicing Catholics is like 2% of the country, maybe. You know what
I
I
don't
mean?
know if it's that small, but
It's
yeah.
a, it's pretty small. And so I think, especially as American Catholics, anytime that there's something that is popular or successful, it kind of flips a switch in our brains. And we're like, we're supposed
Sure.
to be unpopular because so what are we doing? And so when you say like, oh, we're going to have this big revival and it's going to be nationwide and it's going to conclude at this huge arena and there's going to be 80,000 people, I think people get a little wary because they're like,
Yeah.
what what could be so what could be so good that would completely reverse the direction of Catholicism that I'm seeing in my day-to-day life? Because there's nothing about my local parish that warrants 80,000 people being in one arena, And so I think when
Yeah.
they see that, they're like, oh, you must be selling something, or you like must be taking advantage of these people. Because I don't
There
think
must
people
be a
see
grift.
it must be a grift because
The word
there's,
grift has become popular among turbo normies. Among
yeah.
normies. I won't say turbo, but among normies, yeah, people are saying grift all the time. Like
What are they
I
saying it
saw
about?
someone said the Sikh conference. Someone just said, "Hey, why is the Sikh conference on New Year's Day? Is it always on New Year's Day?" And they just didn't know that. It's
Sure.
like Focus always does it the first week of the year.
Yeah.
Sometimes the first week of the year would be too late, so they do it. They
Mm-hmm.
start in December and they go
Start
into
in December.
January.
Yeah. Depends
That's
on
just
when
happened.
Christmas is and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the winter break for the college kids. And so she was like, "Oh, this is
And
weird." And
when the
someone wrote
convention center is available.
exactly, yeah. And so she said that it's like, "Oh, is it always over New Year's?" And someone was like, "I don't know, probably a grift." And I was like, "What does that mean?
Why?
What do you? How would that?
Yeah.
You think having an event that conflicts with a holiday is like some kind of get rich quick
It's a
scheme? Because I think
scheme.
that
Yeah.
might be why they do it over. I think that actually might be why they do it because it's cheaper. So maybe it is a grift. I don't know. Maybe it is like a scheme. But
Those people who are out there grifting, who are having huge events on Christmas Day to take money from people. What are we talking
yeah,
about?
ridiculous.
I
It's
think
like,
that's
but
silly.
if that's a grift, then so is coupons. Like
Right. And
it's like
and the college football bowl system
I
that
know.
all happen on New Year's Day, like
Yeah.
it's ludicrous to me.
Anyway,
So
but
I
that's
think people have this natural suspicion of it because they see it and they're like, well, that's cool. And nothing about Catholicism in my whole life has ever been cool. So surely this is a lie or it's Protestant. And so I think that's what people think that it is.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I do think among traditional Catholics there is a fear of anything that could be seen as Protestant. And the term revival is rather Protestant,
Yeah.
right? It harkens to the revivals,
Yes.
the big tent
Back
revivals.
when back when Johnny Appleseed would go about spreading a sect of Presbyterianism through his seed ministry.
Is that what just Johnny Appleseed, a Presbyterian?
I'm pretty sure Johnny Appleseed was a Protestant. Hold on, Johnny Appleseed.
You don't think he
Johnny.
existed even.
No. Johnny Appleseed was an American pioneer nurseryman who introduced apple trees to large parts of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and present-day Ontario, as well as northern counties. American legend still allows these countries. He was also a missionary for the New Church Swedenborgian. And the inspiration for many, so he was a missionary. That's why he went around, is because he was a missionary
Oh.
for the New Church. And the New Church can refer to any of several historically related Christian denominations that developed under the influence of the theology of Emanuel Swedenborg, who's not a robot, but he was alive from 1688 to 1772. The Swedenborgian tradition is considered to be a part of Restorationist Christianity. So he was a bit
not
of a.
Presbyterian.
So not. I thought it was Presbyterian.
So we were both right.
It looks like he believes in kenosis. There's a lot here, but yeah, Johnny Appleseed was a missionary. That's why
Crazy.
he went. That's why he went around.
People
Yeah.
people are really squashing. They're really trying to silence the missionary zeal of great Americans like Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah, that's why you don't hear people talk about Johnny Appleseed anymore. It
You
feels
really
like
don't.
no, like
I
we learned so much about algebra and not very much about Jonathan Appleseed. And that
Oh,
bothers me.
that's why that song is like, the Lord is good to me, and I will praise the Lord for giving me the things I need, like the sun and the rain and the apple seed, which is like the Looney Tunes theme song also. Yeah, anyway, so that's why I think about Johnny Appleseed all the time. Is because I get
Yeah.
the Looney Tunes song stuck in my head all the time, and then I think
Who's the
about that
guy
song.
with the ox? Paul
That's
Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan. Yeah.
Okay. So this is something that I'm curious about. Was Paul Bunyan a Protestant?
Paul Bunyan, definitely Protestant. John
Paul,
Henry.
no, well, he was a huge lumberjack, and so that makes me think that he was Catholic.
Paul Bunyan was Canadian, I think. So that gives him a good his blue ox. It's
Yeah,
both
the character
Marian.
originated in the oral tradition of North American lager, so oral mouth tradition Catholic, so like kind of a Catholic mouth sort of guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, they've done scholarly research on him.
Oh, thank goodness.
I know, we really need to.
So
So I
which
think
out of
so.
so back to the revival, which of
Yeah,
the characters from the American literary and American oral tradition canon would you like to see speak at the Eucharistic Revival? Paul Bunyan,
so
John
Paul
Henry,
Bunyan for
Johnny
sure.
Appleseed,
I'm thinking Davy Crockett,
David Copperfield. So what did
Buffalo
I say?
Bill, John
Seacoast Bill?
Henry for sure.
John Henry is a good one. And then Kate what's Casey, the baseball player?
Casey Jones,
Yeah,
the
Casey
heroic
Jones.
railroad engineer of the Cannonball, who always brought the train in on time.
I thought he played baseball. Am I thinking of something else?
You're thinking of Casey Jones, the guy from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I don't think so. I've never seen that, so I don't think. Back to the Eucharistic Revival. We gotta stay on topic.
But we've been talking about the Eucharistic Revival.
Like, what do you mean?
I don't know what you're referring to.
We're gonna spread the revival around. I don't know. So the opinions that I've heard, and this is even among like guys in my men's group, they're just very suspicious of the Eucharistic Revival. I think they're suspicious of the bishops. I think they're suspicious of the motives surrounding the Eucharistic Revival. And some people just think that it's a waste of time.
Yes.
I've heard some people say, like, why not just do adoration at your church?
Why not just get involved in your local community?
But like we've worked with the Eucharistic Revival on some things. So we've seen some of the inner machinations of it. And what are like I don't know, what we're 6 months out. We've been hearing about it. Oh, the other piece is the synod on synodality. I think people are kind of getting it overlapped with that.
Yeah.
Where it was like a lot of distrust in the synod on synodality among faithful Catholics, because people kind of like sniffed out that it's like, okay, you want input from people who don't agree with us. Okay, it sounds like you're going to try and make things happen that we don't agree with. All right.
Yeah.
Right. Fair enough. But like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Eucharistic Revival? We haven't talked about it on the podcast. You and I have talked about it.
Have we really not?
No, we haven't. It's just you and me have talked about it privately. Yeah. Yeah.
Patrick and I are always talking about the Eucharist privately. You guys don't know about this.
We talk about it, and we talked about it on Twitter before, because
I
did a whole thread on it, and like,
if you give us $100 a month on Patreon, you can legally tap our phones and listen to our conversations. So
the people do like it when I text screenshots of our texts. Anyway,
they do. What do I think about the Eucharistic Revival? Man, it's so hard. It's so hard because there's so many people that they come to Mass and then they're there and then they leave. And then that's like the extent of their involvement. And if Eucharistic adoration isn't talked about that week at Mass, then they forget that Eucharistic adoration exists. And so it's hard because there's so much going on in a parish. And I talk about the parish because that's most people's, like, the way that they access the Catholic faith is through the parish. Every week at the parish, Father has to ward off dozens of people wanting him to announce their thing. You know, you got to talk about the bake sale. You got to talk about the Knights of Columbus pancake breakfast. You got to talk about the pro-life thing. You got to talk about the women's group. Got to talk about the youth group. You got to talk about the service opportunity. We need more liturgical ministers. Like the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And so naturally, Eucharistic adoration is just one of those things, or just like Eucharistic devotion generally, just kind of gets tossed up in the middle of all these other things that you can do or get involved in. Even like amongst prayer things, like you can pray the rosary more, and you can join a Bible study, and you can go and serve the poor. Like there's all these different things that you can do, and being devoted to the Eucharist is just one of those things that's just kind of floating around in the ether that gets plucked every now and then, and then it might be 3 months before you hear about it again, you know?
Yeah.
And so part of me is like, well, unless like the fundamental orientation of a church is towards the Eucharist, and like everything is a fruit of that, then I don't think it's going to take hold in the way that we're hoping. Like, I don't think the goal of the Eucharistic Revival is to get more people to sign up for adoration slots. You know, like the goal should be like the Eucharistic sacrifice should be the source and summit of the faith. You know, like everything is oriented towards it and everything is a fruit of it. And so, but I don't think people operate in that way. I think they think that the parish is the source and summit of the faith, or worse, like the pastor is the source and summit of the faith. And so people see the Eucharistic Revival and it's just up in that cloud of stuff that's like, oh, these are all good things for Catholics to do. But I think in order for it to really be effective, the pastors and the leadership and the parishioners too, like it has to become a central focus, which I don't know. People say like, oh, you can't just wait around for priests to do these things. But it's like, how do I change the orientation of an entire parish just on my own? Especially for something that's a sacrament that like I can't make on my own, you know? Like I can't just say, come to my house, we're going to have the Eucharist, you know? So like necessarily I have to like be dependent upon the system to do it for me in some respects. So I don't know. That's why
I think it's good that the people that are in charge of not only making Jesus, but also making guys that can make Jesus. I think it's good that those people have decided, whether collectively or by force, from one or two very influential bishops, to have decided to make the Eucharist the main thing for now. I think that's a really good thing, because they're the people that need to be making it a main thing. Because the only thing that I can do is go to Eucharistic adoration by myself in the Perpetual Adoration Chapel, or go to Mass sometimes if a Mass time fits, right?
Yes.
Which is why I got mad at that one bishop in that one diocese that banned Eucharistic adoration, Perpetual adoration.
Dude, that's ludicrous.
It's like that's my only access. You know, I understand you can make Jesus anytime you darn well please. That's not my deal. You know, I can't do that. And so it's just like, I think that I think the criticisms, I think you're right. I think the criticisms come from a place of like, I'm afraid of things that are big. I think the other piece is that people want the Eucharistic Revival to do something that it can't do. And they go, so it must be bad. I think
what do they want it to do?
Some of the criticisms I see around that are like, you think that people are going to go to the Eucharistic Congress and they're going to have a conversion experience? This isn't going to fix everything. And I'm like, well, actually, some people might. Like that happens. Like, do you know how many people have come out of John Paul II's World Youth Days? You know, like, I mean, you know, Father Harrison had a conversion experience at a World Youth Day. Matt Fradd had a conversion experience at a World Youth Day. You know, like these events do happen.
Yeah. All it takes is just getting a lot of people together for people to have a conversion experience. Like they just see other, like, because a lot of times people just need to feel like they're not alone, you know, and that's a huge part of it is I don't want to, I feel like I'm one of 10 people in my parish that care about this thing. And all of a sudden you see 80,000 other people. You're like, whoa, And that's enough for some people if they've never experienced that before to like
Oh
have a
yeah, I mean
conversion.
the Sikh conference is like that every year. People post on like
Mhm.
the church is not dead, and it's like it's just 20,000 people. It's actually not that many, but it's like it feels like, oh
Mhm.
wow, this is a whole stadium full of people, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think that like that's the criticism is that people who don't already believe in the Eucharist aren't going to go to the Eucharistic Congress, but I think that's okay.
Mhm.
I think it's okay if the majority of people there are not are I think if it's okay if the majority of the people there are devout Catholics and maybe
Yeah.
10%,
Since when is it a
5%
bad
aren't.
thing for devout Catholics to gather and pray? You know? It
I
feels like
think
a
it's
good
because it
thing to
costs
me.
money.
Yeah,
I
it's always
think it's
wrapped up in
because
the
it
money.
costs money. And I almost wanted to talk about money today because you
Mm.
and I have had a couple of conversations about how people are weird about money. There's this weird
Mhm.
catch-22 where people don't want churches to spend a lot of money. Like we don't want the Eucharistic Revival is too expensive.
Yes.
How dare it be that expensive? But also, we should pay workers a just wage. And it's like, what do you think the money is going to? You know,
Right.
the most expensive part of any event is paying the people that put it on,
Mhm.
like it's it's a weird catch-22 of like you shouldn't spend money, but also you should give money to your employees. So
Yeah.
there's a weird dynamic there. That's what I almost want to talk. I don't think we should talk about
That's
that, but
okay.
I did want
No,
to bring that.
money is too many people talk about money these days.
Yeah,
Not enough
yeah,
people too much with the mammon and not enough with the Lord,
yeah.
I do
Jeez,
think
really.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the Eucharistic Congress now that we're. If
I
you're
am
not,
too.
if you haven't signed up yet, you should.
Yes.
If you can go, you should. 80,000 people. That's 4 Sikh conferences. That's crazy.
Back to back.
I know. It's absolutely
Are
insane. I
we
mean, it's
are we gonna be there?
I yeah,
I
I
think
think so.
can we
I
like
think so.
can we cautiously say that we'll be there?
Yeah, we have it on good authority. This is not an announcement.
I prayed
We
and
have it
God told me that we were gonna be there.
I have it on good authority from one of our friends who works high up in the Eucharistic Revival land that
Mhm.
we may be doing a live podcast at the
Potentially.
Eucharistic Revival.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
It may be a live Dr. Ethan's dating corner. That's gonna be
Dude.
really fun.
Man. I can't wait. I'm so
Dude,
excited. I
I'm
think there's
excited too. Well,
80,000
especially
single
because we
people walk
know
in, 40,000 couples leave after I'm done with that place.
especially because we now know that
What do we know?
we do a really great live Dr. Ethan's dating corner.
Dude,
Like that
we do.
event in Oklahoma
God.
City was we did an event in Oklahoma City where Ethan and I sat in a room full of it was like 60 single people,
Yeah.
30 men, 30 women,
Ish.
and we just answered their questions.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
For an
It
hour,
was
and we
awesome.
had so much fun, and I had a little espresso and a martini, and I had a bit of ice cream, and it was
Yeah.
wonderful, and we could
They
do
put
that at the
espresso on
Eucharistic
ice cream.
Congress.
It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Gosh. They
And so
called
we
it
can
an
do that at the Eucharistic
avocado.
Revival.
Yeah, we could do that.
Avocado, a
We're
lawyer.
gonna do that at the Eucharistic Revival. We are gonna be there, so if you're not gonna be there, you should show up, and we should have
So
a good
excited.
time,
I'm
but
shivering. It's
I know.
cold in my
But
house.
I think then the question is what are dioceses? It's just hard because like I'm so skeptical, like I've seen
Oh
so
yeah.
many efforts and initiatives just kind of be things that people are excited about, and then it's like over, and it's on to the next thing that we have to raise money for, or we have to get ready for, or whatever. And so after the revival, when people come back to their dioceses, like, is there a plan? Like, are these people? I'm sure there is, but
Yeah.
I'm also like, does
I don't think there
anybody?
is a plan.
How many people actually want things to change? Is my question. Like, what percentage of Catholics that are actively involved actually want the way that they practice Catholicism? They want the way that their relationship with the Eucharist is. Like, how many of them want it to change? How many even know that it can change? I'm not saying that it's not going to work. I'm just saying that the ground needs to be tilled, and I feel like it's been tilled amongst people that are paying attention, that are involved in the that are on social media, that see these types of things.
So if you're correct in your estimation that
Yeah.
so there's 20% of the country is Catholic, we know that.
Yes.
Let's say 30% of Catholic. The stat is like 70% don't believe what the church teaches about the Eucharist. So let's say like the
Right.
rest of the 30% that do are like really devout and they want things to change, at least
Yeah.
passively, right?
Yeah.
That would mean that 6% of the US population are devout Catholics. So our total addressable, group here is 21 million people.
How many is that?
It's more than can fit in the Lucas Oil Stadium. But like
Sure.
that's not an insignificant number.
That's true.
That's the state of Florida, right?
Right.
Like that is an entire
80,000.
country.
So 21 million. My brother's texting me, he wants to play Fortnite. 21 million.
We've entered the math portion of the
I
podcast.
know, welcome. So if every person that goes to the Eucharistic Congress comes back and they talk to 262 people, then we will reach that entire 6%. Which
We don't need
sounds
to reach
crazy.
6%.
Which sounds crazy,
6%
but
cares.
what?
The 6% is the percentage that cares.
Yeah, but don't we want them to be revived?
Oh, true. Yeah, we want them to revive, and then we want them to go. I do think that you're right. There's not a plan when people get back. I don't think there needs to be, because I think the way that Bishop Barron's plan with this whole thing is like, we need to just get together and refocus ourselves on the Eucharist.
Yeah.
And then God will work.
Yeah, it's kind of like get all the right people on the bus, but it's get all the right people in the oil stadium. And
get all the right people in the oil.
I do think that there is something to like, let's all get together, let's pray and just see what happens, because that historically has been a pretty good model. Like if you think about like World Youth Day. Like World Youth Day, what you're talking about, there wasn't like a plan of how to reintegrate people after World Youth Day. It just kind of happened because teens were on fire and youth people were on fire. And then they started listening to Scott Hahn CDs. And then from that, our podcast was born.
Distributed by the founders of Decided Excellence Catholic Media.
Indeed. Lighthouse Media.
Yeah.
So that's probably will happen again, actually. I think along with my whole like redemption arc into being a turbo normie, I think I just need to like I just want to be more hopeful, because I think I'm so skeptical. Like it's just nothing's going to change. Everything's going poorly. You have
that's
these
not
weird
a good place to be.
Well, you have all these documents coming out and the blessings and the comments, and you just like see all this stuff over and over and over again. It makes you think like, man, there's not really any hope. And then when you go to mass and like everything's sort of uninspired and like the people around you are on their phones, you're just like, it's very easy to lose hope, And so I think I fall victim to that pretty much every day. And so I need some more resilience, I suppose. But I don't think I'm the only person that struggles with that. I think everybody who's seriously trying has the temptation to look around and be like, man, nobody else here cares. The priest doesn't even seem like he cares. The Eucharistic minister tries to bless my son, even though she's not qualified to bless him.
She's been told multiple times not to do that.
Right. And the pews are just getting emptier and emptier every week. So it's like, what, it's hard not to feel like we're on the Titanic sometimes, and then it's like the Eucharistic Congress is just like, let's all get together and play the violins one last time.
Before you pack up.
Yeah.
So long and thanks for all the fish. This is the second time I've said that on the podcast recently.
So fish, thanks for all the long.
However, at my parish on Sunday, we did have a ridiculously packed parking lot for seemingly no reason other than it was Sunday. So
yeah,
like who packs the house for Epiphany Sunday?
Me, I do.
I guess
we had 30 people at my house for Epiphany.
No, I'm saying like what church like packs the pews for January 6th? Well, okay, sorry. Oh,
I can think of some churches that pack the
Oh
pews for
yeah, oh
January
yeah,
6th.
oh yeah. But yeah, no, I think that's fair. It is really hard when the priests don't care, and that's what's been heartening for
Mhm.
me with the Eucharistic Revival is that it seems like the bishops actually care. Like that's
They do, yeah,
it's a huge bummer when it feels like the bishops don't care. Like when
yeah. They care as
like
much as dudes who are not allowed to care about anything because of their lawyers are allowed to care about something, you
yeah,
know?
that's fair. Yeah, that's a huge thing. It's like and
Any
even
bishops who are listening, I can free you. I will sue your lawyer, and I will get you out of that jail that you're in, and we can go skiing, you and me.
it's such a funny dynamic,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, like I mean with bishops canceling Latin masses for seemingly no reason. I know that's like so I'm not even a Latin mass guy, but it's like
What are you doing?
the people that I know that go to Latin mass are like Dr. Mike Cirilla, who's like the nicest guy on the planet who
Right.
just likes Latin mass. You know, it's like he finds it like why are we muzzling the ox? You know, why are we doing that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just after you see all that stuff, like friends and people that get kind of squashed for trying to be good Catholics. It's helpful to see an effort being made to
Yeah.
after what seemed like a global effort to undermine orthodoxy in terms
Yeah.
of you know
You're talking about the
it's
COVID-19 pandemic?
no, I'm talking
When they
about the
shut
general
down the churches and
mentality.
made the Eucharist inaccessible?
Oh yeah, no, that too. Yeah, that's fair. After like a couple of years, even and still happening of people being like, "Oh, you can't go to church because of COVID," or
Yeah.
and getting finger wagged by the United States government, being like, "You don't need to go to church. You just pray in your
Well,
room." It's like, hey,
not
don't.
even finger by the government, finger wagged by bishops and priests who
Oh
said,
yeah,
"It's not a big deal, just make a spiritual communion." You know?
absolutely ridiculous. Yeah,
I think as a if you view the Eucharistic Revival as a response to the Eucharistic failure,
desert.
of
Yeah,
of 2020 and 2021, it makes sense.
that's fair because
Um,
so many people stopped go. Like I know people. The religion teacher at a I guess it's not necessarily unnamed if you know where I worked, but a religion teacher at the school said that he stopped going to mass. He just got out of the habit. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
you're a religion teacher at a
right,
Catholic school. Why are you
right,
not going to church on Sunday? People just stopped going. And
yeah,
so like yeah, maybe that is part of the reason. Cause
mhm.
when the governor of Virginia said that thing about, oh, just go pray in your room, Bishop Barron did like a whole video. He was pissed. Did you see
Oh,
that?
he was mad. Yeah, I do remember that.
He was like, "How dare you explain religion to us? You are a government official in a state that ostensibly has separation of church and state, where you're not supposed to be the religious leader. I am.
Right,
What are you doing?"
right,
He was like, in Rome, this never would have flown. The Roman emperor would never have said, this is how you're supposed to. That's absolutely insane.
yeah,
Even in a place where even in a country where church and state were one, they understood their place. Now some of them didn't, but the ones that went to heaven did. And it's like get out of here with that nonsense. That was awful. I remember that.
yeah. Well, I think it's good to reflect on all of this, um, especially the fact that Casey Jones was due to run the southbound passenger service from Memphis to Canton, Mississippi. Owing to the absence of another engineer, he had to take over another service throughout the day, which may have deprived him of sleep. He eventually departed 75 minutes late, but was confident of making up the time with the powerful 10-wheeler engine number 382, known as Cannonball. Approaching Vaughn at a high speed, he was unaware that the three trains were occupying the station, one of which was broken down and directly on his line. Some claim he ignored a flagman signaling to him, though this person may have been out of sight on a tight bend or obscured by fog. All are agreed, however, that Jones managed to avert a potentially disastrous crash through his exceptional skill at slowing the train down and saving the lives of passengers at the cost of his own. For this, he was immortalized in a traditional song, The Ballad of Casey Jones.
Wait, he died?
He died. Apparently, this guy was so good at slowing down trains, he died.
Doesn't sound like you. I think I know what happened. So like he
Oh,
slowed
it's
the train
so
down
funny.
enough
Yeah,
so that it crashed slower than it would have. So
right. And
he
he
was
was
in the
at the.
front.
He also
Yeah,
rescued a
instead
child
of the
from the tracks,
train.
and he was a baseball player. So you're right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wait, he rescued a child. So he had time to get out,
No, I think
rescue a
that was a
child.
separate incident.
Oh, okay. I
Separate
think that's
incident.
fair. I guess it makes sense the heroism was
Yeah.
multiple instances of heroism.
Jones reversed the throttle and slammed the air brakes into an emergency stop, but the engine quickly plowed through several loaded train cars. It's just so funny the words that they're using on this Wikipedia page. But the engine quickly plowed through several loaded train cars before derailing. He had been able to reduce his speed to about 40 miles per hour before impact. Jones was the only fatality of the collision.
Wow.
Wow. Popular legend holds his hand still clutched the whistle cord and brake when his body was pulled from the wreckage. Now, this is a guy,
Dude, that's crazy.
you know.
They
I
don't
think
make Casey Joneses anymore. They don't make guys
no,
that sell you
no, they
Suzukis. They don't
don't.
make Suzuki guys anymore. Bonus podcast, $10 a month if you want to get that reference. They don't
Yep.
make Suzuki guys anymore. They don't make Casey Jones, and they sure as heck don't make Johnny Appleseed anymore.
No.
Certainly not. Well, Ethan, I am hopeful for the Eucharistic Revival. I think
Me too.
good things are going to come out of it. I think it's going to be a beautiful time for the church to, get together and I honestly I think your analysis is spot on. Just the recovering from the not just lack of access to the Eucharist, but lack of access to all of the sacraments. I mean, like
Yeah.
confession was almost the confession in the Diocese of Orlando was they banned outdoor confessions. It's like
That's so dumb. Why was everyone
I
so
know
dumb for so long?
it was like or maybe that was Pittsburgh. I don't remember which one it was. One of my
Some
dioceses, one of my three.
dioceses.
Some dioceses, but it was like people were so like it was lawyers. It was lawyers. It was policies. I remember like it was getting dictated to us and we were like, well, it's policy. And I was like, this is stupid. We should be able to make our own decisions based on like we have brains. We don't need but yeah, it was lawyers and HR and policy. And sorry, Camille. And I think we all need to recover from that. We need to return to the Holy Spirit who's supposed to be guiding the church.
Yes.
Not
Policymakers.
not policies.
Yeah.
It's just silly.
Well, this is good. I'm excited for the Congress. I'm excited to be there with you and to do a live podcast. I think just by saying it enough times, it'll happen.
It's called manifesting.
Yeah, we have been invited. We're not just creating this out of nowhere.
We're not crazy. We're not crazy. All right.
Right. This isn't like this
Not
is
for
not a
this.
Seek Part 2 type situation.
Okay. Or we just assume we're going and then
if you like the show and you want to interact with other people and talk about the things that we talk about, you can go to bit.ly/crunch discord and join over 1,000 other young Catholics that are talking about the day-to-day stuff that you're struggling with and many other topics. So that's the place to go. Patrick, do you have anything else for the people?
Turbo Normies Unite.
Thank you all for listening. Please pray for us. We will be praying for you, and we will see you all next week.